Yo, why didn't the teddy bear eat dinner? He was stuffed. All right, let's get to it. So we've got compound interest, but this is compound interest for year 11. Okay, now in year 12, and I'm pretty sure you would have seen it before, there's this particular formula for it. But for today, we're going to do compound interest through repeated simple interest. I have seen this in the HSC. And so recognizing how to use this particular method is definitely helpful. And it's all you'll need to see for now at this current point in time. Okay, now compound interest is definitely not simple interest. Okay, simple interest is nice and straightforward. Compound interest, compound means to add to. Okay, so what I've written here is it means that interest, what you earn, is added to your principal, and then each period your interest increases because your principal increases. So I like to call it as earning interest on your interest. Okay, so it's if you're saving, it's better. It's better for you because your money grows faster. Okay, now the way that we're going to do this again is we're just going to use what we know. We're going to stick with simple interest. Now I'll show you how a question would look. It'll say something like Mr. K invests 20K, 20,000 into an account with 5% interest per annum, but we're going to compound it yearly for 3 years. And we're going to calculate the total interest earned. Now, I hope I've got a calculator here. I do. And I'm going to move this up just a tiny smidge so we can see the question and the working at the same time. We'll try. Okay, so the reason that we're going to use this table is a couple of reasons. First of all, it's a great introduction to what compound interest actually is so that you can appreciate having a nice, cleaner formula when we apply this later in the future. Now, N is going to stand for your number of periods. P is going to stand for your principal. I is going to stand for your interest. And then you've got this last column here where it's principal plus interest. And let me explain. So let's talk about if we're investing for 3 years, let's see what happens in the first year. In your first year, my principal is just a straight $20,000. Okay. Now, how do I calculate my interest? Well, I know I'll write this in a little box here. I equals to PRN. Now, what the common thing here would be to go 20,000 times 5% or 0.05 or 5%, however you want to write it. And then the temptation is to multiply it by 3. Do not multiply it by 3 because I only want it for the first year. I'm calculating 1 year at a time. So in other words, for this one, I'm just going to go 20,000 times 0.5. And that's, oh, sorry, just after I said it, 0.05 because that's 5%. And that's going to give me, if my calculator will tell me, that's going to give me $1,000. Okay, now for all you math nerds out there saying that I should have been able to cut that without a calculator, you're 100% correct. Now, here's what happens. At the end of that first year, I now have a total of $21,000 because I've got my original to 20,000, but then I've earned 1,000 during that year. Okay, so now I've got 21,000. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the second period. And this is talking about my second year. Now, this time my principal is not 20,000. I'm going to start with whatever I had at the end of last year because now I don't have 20,000. I now have 21,000. Okay, and this is what it means to compound. Let's see how much interest I earn this time. So now I'm going to do 21,000 instead of my 20,000 times 0.05. It's still only 5%. But let's see, do I earn more money this time? The answer is definitely yes. And again, should I be able to do this without my calculator? Probably, but I can see here that I will earn $1,050. And so now I need to figure out how much do I have now? I started with my 21,000 and then I added another 1,050 and that will give me, and again, can I do this at my calculator? Probably 22050. That's how much I have this year. And then if I go now to my third year, because remember, I'm trying to calculate for a total of 3 years. Again, we follow this pattern here. Okay, I'm starting now with not 21,000, but I'm now starting with 22,000, and I'll try to be consistent here. $22,050. And again, how do I find the interest? It's going to be 22,050 this time, multiplied by my percentage. And that's going to give me 1102.50, which sounds about right. And then how do I figure out how much I have at the end? Well, now I've gotten that number, 22,050 plus my 1102.50. And now that means I've got a total of $23,152.50. Okay. Now that I've done this, this is how much money my money is worth now. It's worth $23,152.50. But remember, the question here, and this is where a lot of people will get confused, we're talking about calculate the total interest earned. So don't forget, interest is always your total amount minus your principal. Okay, now again, I do not need a calculator to do this. I theoretically don't even have to write it down, but my total amount is now worth 23,152.50. And what was my original principal? I'm not going to use the 22,000. I'm not going to use the 21,000. My original principal was 20,000. And that gives me just my extra little bit, which I can see is 3,152.50. That's my total interest earned over those 3 years. Okay. Hopefully you can understand that. Hopefully you could track. Again, there's a lot of different questions they can ask based off this, but this is just an introduction. Hope that helps, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right. Bye.